So this is a video about Chopin, and let's see if I can get this camera working. Like that, yeah. So let me just... Okay, so Chopin, I've discovered to my interest. Oh, dear me, what's happening here? To my interest that my teaching lineage doesn't only go to Beethoven and Tchaikovsky through Nikolaev, my teacher's teacher, but also goes to Chopin through my other teacher's teacher. Yeah. So, which is really interesting for me. So, that teacher is Peter Feuchtwanger, who was more of a friend really, but he did teach me more of like the. He taught me a little of how to play a Chopin piece, and but more he gave me the his particular take in piano playing, and in general music. So, whereas I could say that the Leschetizky line, which was from my from the Beethoven lineage teacher, that line, the Leschetizky line, is very much in. This is my sort of opinion, but I think that it is. There's no particular muscle or finger technical. There's not that kind of technical emphasis. There's no particular way of positioning the hands or anything like that. That's how I understood it. And what my brilliant teacher was communicating more was an intense love for the beauty and the depth and the how should we say, the all-encompassing totality, but generally the beauty of art in general, and in particular the piano playing, but art in general, not just piano playing. And that's what I've read is the Leschetizky sort of method as well, which is, I was quite gratified to read that as well. That's what I got from my teacher. He's from that line, and although I'm not good myself, I'm grateful to have had that sort of side of the piano, of a piano method. There is no method with the Leschetizky method, is what I would say. Even though Nikolaev did write a book called the piano method or something like that, so obviously he's got a method, but in general, I think, I was not really taught any particular method for the posture or a finger, the position of fingers or muscle, the application of the physical body at all. But there was no technical tuition at all. It was just a real emphasis on the love of art and the understanding of art and what was trying to be communicated. The singing tone was emphasized as well. What else was emphasized? I was thinking today there was something else which was emphasized by my teacher, and that was I can't remember. Maybe it'll come back to me. But yeah, not much on the physical aspect. Now the other side, I discovered that my teacher, stroke friend, Peter Feuchtwanger, I went to Germany with him for one of his piano tours, and I met him in London on a number of occasions, and he taught me the fingering for the Chopin Andante Spianato, for example, which was a very counterintuitive fingering, not at all what you would think. And when I challenged him the next week as to why the fingering he had told me before was different to what he was telling me when I then spoke to him, he simply said, no, you can do it that way as well. And so, you know, he's got a really in-depth knowledge. He's got his own method, a bit like how Nikolaev does. Peter Feuchtwanger has his own piano playing method. He has the parachute technique and all, and so forth. So he's very much concerned with the mechanical aspect of it all. I remember the first thing he said about me was the way that I was, my pedaling for as I played on one of his two, what's the word? Personalized Steinways. I can't remember the word is now. In his flat in London. So the whole thing was about, and also the way he didn't drink alcohol, he didn't eat meat, and these things which I think he didn't like to listen to any music which was not classical at all, and that was very important to him, and I think that I definitely was influenced by him on those sorts of aspects as well. And so I found out recently that Peter Feuchtwanger, he studied with Clara Haskil. I mean, she was his friend, and I read how she taught. He was playing some piece. I think it was a ballade of Chopin, and she came over and went in front of him as he played and said, no, that's not how you do it. This is how you do it. So in that sense, she taught him. I think it was a Chopin ballade, but I'm not sure what it was. And it wasn't just the once, it was obviously several times, and he knew her for several years and was a close friend of her. Okay, so in the same way I had that kind of teaching from Peter. It wasn't lessons. So, again, it wasn't lessons like how I had from my teacher in Moscow, who's from the Leschetitsky, the Beethoven line, or the Tchaikovsky line, Beethoven and Tchaikovsky through Nikolaev. I had lessons there, proper lessons for an extended period of time at a music school. So, but this Peter Feuchtwanger was able to communicate a lot to me about not just Chopin, but about Prokofiev and Bach and Rachmaninoff and Schubert. He particularly loved Schubert. And to just continue about the lineage from Haskil, Clara Haskil, who, by the way, has got some amazing Mozart concertos, which I bought them all, I think. Did I buy them all? Maybe I didn't buy them all. No, I bought a lot of Mozart's concerti played by, I think, different people, including Haskell's performance of at least one of the concertos. Very fine, very well played. And apparently she was a complete genius. I think someone said of her that he had met 3 geniuses. I think it was a president of the United States who said this. He said he had met, well, I can't remember who it was who said this, but he said that he met 3 geniuses in his life. One was Albert Einstein. Another was Charlie Chaplin, and another was Clara Haskil. Those 3 geniuses. So it's interesting. Apparently she was able to memorize everything and anything and everything very easily, just like Rachmaninoff and Glazunov were able to do, and people like that. So she had this phenomenal ability, basically. She was some kind of a genius. I don't know much about her, but there's the Clara Haskil competition, of course, which I think Tiffany Poon won that, or she was a prize winner in that, or something like that. I'm not sure exactly. And who else? I can't remember. I looked up all the prize winners of that important competition. So it's an important competition. She's a very important pianist. Anyway, her teacher, she was going to study with Alfred Cortot, in Paris. And I think she did. Yeah, she did. and Courteau's teacher, but she also studied with somebody else. But she studied with Courteau, and Courteau's teacher was Chopin's pupil, whose name, if I'm not mistaken, was Émile, I think. Émile. And I can't remember the surname, but anyway, well, yeah, Émile. Can't remember the surname now, but anyway, he was one of Chopin's last pupils. So there's that lineage from through Peter Feuchtwanger. Okay, so having said all that, I would like to just play a simple prelude in A major. It's the number 7, because I'd like to demonstrate that Chopin had a famously large hand. I think he was able to span at least 10 notes, I think. And I think there's a plaster cast of his hand. Now this prelude is a very easy one. Of his, it's the one in A major, which I've said. It has a massive chord, which is very difficult to manage. But I'm here to show you how I would recommend to do it. It's not Peter Feuchtwanger's technique for how to do it at all. He didn't teach me this. But this works very well, and I think it sounds better than how Chopin wrote it. I'm not like Glenn Gould, who thinks that Chopin and Rachmaninoff are not good composers, but I think they're brilliant composers, and I think that it's ridiculous to say that they weren't good, brilliant composers. And I think that Chopin is truly a great composer. Having said that, I have to agree that you must say that I think I read a quote recently by Czerny, who said that he had listened to Chopin, you see, and he said that Chopin was great, but it was a little bit sugary, a little bit saccharine. So I wonder whether he heard things like the Scherzo number 3, for example, or some of the etudes, you know, the number 4 of Opus 10, for example, or the Winter Wind of Opus 25. Anyway, or the Revolutionary, the one in is it C minor, the Revolutionary etude, for example. I don't think he would have if he really said that he was a bit too sugary or something. I think it was a bit too sweet. I think it was a bit too sweet. But that might be wrong. You know, I've heard it also recounted that Tchaikovsky loved to pick mushrooms. I don't know whether that's true or not, and it might not be true at all. Who knows? You know. But I must admit that if you think about it, when you sort of play some Chopin things, there are a lot of embellishments. You know. A lot of decorative things, and that's one thing. And then also there's this sort of is it called the grand style, the brilliant style, le style brillant, which is a bit like it's like in that Polonaise, which comes after the Andante Spianato, which Peter gave me some help with. That Polonaise, for example, has many passages, or some passages, which are kind of a bit, you know, in that brilliant style, and in my opinion, and I think some other people's opinions, quite, shall we say, dubious as to their artistic merit. But, so there is that, I've got to say there is that, which you don't really have in Beethoven, or Schubert. You don't have that in Beethoven or Bach. You don't really have it in Beethoven or Bach. I mean, Schubert for me is such a great composer. However, again with Schubert, I think that there is perhaps an element of repetitiveness, perhaps, but that's done on purpose, of course. And the same with Chopin, the embellishments and the grand and the style brillant and these sorts of things, they are done on purpose. You know, there's not like he ran out of ideas. And of course, his greatest works, in his in my opinion, his Scherzi are his greatest works. His etudes as well, and his nocturnes, I think are very good. I mean, almost all of them, almost all of the preludes, the sonatas. The sonatas. I don't particularly personally like them, but they are great works. So number 2 and number 3. Number 1, I don't know about that one. Maybe not number 1. And his concerti are so incredible, but again, those concerti have some, have some sections which are basically, the orchestral tutti. The orchestral writing is perhaps not quite there, but then Chopin was not really a symphonic writer, a writer for any other instrument except the piano. But I think that those 2 concerti, written when he was 19, are incredible. It's interesting to remember that the number 2 was apparently written before number 1. So I'm just thinking about that. Clara Haskil and Tiffany Poon, who plays so brilliantly a Schubert sonata on that. That one in. It's the one in. It's the. I can't remember. He wanted to publish 6 sonatas, so it was that first group of 3. It was actually, in my opinion, the second group of 3. Because if you look at Schubert's sonatas, he basically wrote 9 sonatas. There are the 3 posthumous sonatas. That's a group, obviously. Then there's the group of 3 which precede that. One of which Tiffany Poon plays in that Clara Haskil recital brilliantly. But by the way, she also plays the first piano concerto. That's why I wanted to talk about Tiffany Poon very, very well. Both of them are on YouTube. There's another 3 sonatas which precede that 3, which are also amazing. They're in, it's the famous one in the D664, that beautiful one. Yeah, that one, in A major. Was it A minor? I think it's in A. It sounds like A major, doesn't it? So it must be an A major. I think it's in A minor, so it must start with the relative minor. That one in A minor, that's how it begins, that set of 3. It's called D664, if I'm not mistaken. And then the one after that, which is in, I think, A minor, is astonishing. And then the third one in that set is even more astonishing. Yeah. The third movement of either that third sonata or the second sonata, I think they're both in A minor, is astonishing. So that's another group of 3. That's about Schubert. But just talking about Chopin and the concerti, I heard a brilliant performance of the number 1 by Tiffany Poon. That was written, number 1, after the number 2. So the number 2, which is in F minor, with the F minor, I think, is the hunting key of the hunting horn. It's got a horn in it, which is like a hunting horn. It's very good, and it's got the quite a revolutionary use of the wood of the bow in the I think it's the final movement where that horn is as well. They're both in the first one he wrote, which is numbered number 2. That's the one in F minor. It's interesting. And the one which is in E minor, which is numbered number 1, was actually written after number 1. That was just number 2. I think they were both, that was concerto number 2. Anyway, I think they're both written the same year, so it was when Chopin was 19, or whatever year that is. But they're both incredible works. So I just wanted to finish this video with that A major prelude, and how I recommend the fingering is done. It's not Peter Feuchtwanger's fingering, it's my own fingering. It's a fingering I got from someone else, but it works if you find it's too much of a stretch for you, or you can't remember which are the notes which he uses in that quite complex chord for the right hand. So here I'll just play the whole thing. That chord comes right at the end. I do a rolling arpeggio for it on the black notes. So here we go. Oops. Okay, so let's see if we can get this up. No, this doesn't want to stay up. Maybe like that, yes. Okay, so here we go. Simple A major 1, but watch this rolling chord at the end. How to play that. So I got the left hand wrong, but that was the arpeggio, rolling arpeggio at the end instead of the big chord, which I recommend playing. It makes it much easier and it's a real joy to play and it sounds better. So for those 3 reasons I'd recommend that last chord of the A major prelude to be played like that. Okay, thank you very much. See you next time. Bye bye.